doing my daily practice routine, and today we're going to do it together. Unless you're listening to this while driving your car, in which case, just listen for a bit. Everything worth doing takes time doing it. Some of the lessons that I do here with my long-term students, we don't actually learn anything new. What? I mean, sometimes it's important just to spend time not learning new things. I would say we probably need to spend about 20% of our time with a guitar learning something new and 70% of the time practicing stuff that we have already learned. Wait, I'm missing 10%. That's because that other 10% should be just having fun. Whatever the right percentage is for you, let me walk you through this step-by-step practice routine. Now, this is for someone who is intermediate level, maybe even on the higher end of intermediate level. So if some of these things are a little too difficult for you or you don't understand them, just substitute it with something else. Or think of this routine as an aspirational goal. Step 1. Actually, the first thing you should not do is you should not start by jamming, because I know what you guys are like. As soon as you put on a jam track, you'll be playing for a half an hour before you've even bothered to really practice the things that you need to practice. So first thing you're going to do is you're just going to warm up by playing, let's say, all 5 minor pentatonic shapes from the root and back down again. One of the things I always make my students do is I make them do it all the way to the top and the bottom without pausing. And then basically we go to the top of that scale shape, we pause, and then we reset our pick direction, because that means when you're descending, your pick direction is now the reverse of what you did otherwise. That is very useful because in reality, depending on what rhythm we're playing, of whatever riff or solo we're playing, sometimes we have to be plucking down, up, going this way, and sometimes we've got to be plucking up, down that way. It's just the way it might work out. Now you can apply that principle to all 5 shapes, or if you don't know all the 5 shapes, just do the ones you know for now. Step 2, now some of you on the internet like to call these diagonal pentatonic shapes, and yeah, that sounds super cool, doesn't it? But really, it's just connecting the pentatonic shapes that we already know in very common ways that we find in popular solos of classic rock and other genres. So I just call them run number 1 and run number 2. Run number 1 works like this. It starts from the bottom of shape 5, goes through easy shape, and then up into extension shape. So let's do that one. Now let's say I finished at the top of that shape, that's extension shape, right? And what if I go up 2 more frets? What shape is right there? If extension shape is shape 2, this is shape 3, what some of us here call triple stack. And what if I want to descend triple stack right there? I've got to be able to picture the shape and descend all the way this way. There's the root there. And where does that take us? It takes us to our another favorite diagonal pentatonic shape, which I call run number 2, because run number 2 starts in the triple stack of run number 3, climbs up into shape 4, which I call funny B string shape. Oh my God, all the nicknames. And then finishes back at the root again. So it looks like this. Let's put all of that together. Run number 1, descend, shape 3, and then run number 2. It takes us all the way from this G to A root, all the way up to this root here. Now we've got pretty much the whole fretboard covered with that in single notes. Let's combine some chords and pentatonic shapes, because we always want to be able to see the connection between chords and shapes. So if I stay in the same key, this would be a standard A minor bar chord, right? And what would the standard minor pentatonic shape be there? Well, it's easy shape. We already did that. Right? Now, 4 chord is D minor, and we could continue to play a minor pentatonic over the 4 chord, or if we want to get real fancy and highlight some of the notes of D minor, we actually could just play D minor pentatonic. Not only that, it's worth it for us to exercise the ability to see chord shape for scale shape, right? So what shape is it? It's D minor pentatonic shape 4, funny B string shape. And what about the 5 chord in the key of A minor? In the natural minor scale, that would be E minor. So 5 chords easy. We can just take that 4 chord and move it up 2 frets. We have an E minor chord. So let's just look then. What would E minor pentatonic be right there? Well, it's the same. It would be shape 4 E minor pentatonic. But let's say we wanted to stay in this position and we want to connect this root for the E chord, for the E minor chord, to whatever pentatonic shape is there. That would be shape 3 triple stack. So now our fingers are warmed up and we're able to see on the fretboard connections between scales and chords. Let's really use our brain now and practice finding important intervals that we need to be able to visualize for soloing and even just for learning songs faster, right? And let's just change the chord a bit here. Let's just make it A7 just for fun. So if we picture this A7 chord, which one of these is a 5? Well, there's a 5 here because we can picture a power chord shape, right? There's also a 5 here. We can just memorize where that is. It is in the chord, the bar chord, and it's in minor pentatonic easy shape. Is there or there. So we're gonna play a lick and target that 5th. Why do we want to do that? Because the 5th has a certain sound. It has a certain personality, and we want to be able to access those sounds when we hear them in our mind, when we think of them. Let's try another one. Let's try a minor 7. Since we're kind of in a bluesy feel right now, a minor 7 is going to be especially good. Where are our minor 7s? Again, we could just picture the bar chord. We know there's a minor 7 there of that A7 bar chord. There's another one up here. If we play the bigger version of this A7 bar chord, that's the minor 7 up there. So we're going to play a lick and then we're going to target the minor 7. It's very funky sounding, right? To hit that one, I kind of went chromatically down to it. I'm just picturing it in advance, playing some bends and some licks that might be commonly played, and just sort of working my way towards it, and eventually getting there. Or we could walk up to that minor 7, whichever one you feel at the moment. Let's do one more target. Let's do a major 3rd, because even though we're playing a minor pentatonic, right now we have an A7 chord underneath. And in that chord, we see we have this note right here, right? That's the major 3rd of that chord. And so if it's in the chord, we can always play it in our solo. We can always use it as a target. So let's target the major 3rd like that. Sometimes when I show students targeting the major 3rd, they think, well, that doesn't quite sound right, does it? I'm like, you gotta hear it in context of the chord, and it does. It's a strong sound when our ear is used to playing the minor pentatonic, but suddenly we hear that major 3rd, but we hear it against the chord, and yeah, it's really cool. Speaking of major 3rds, let's now practice our major pentatonic. We've been working on minor pentatonic. Major pentatonic works like this. We know our first finger pinky rule, right? First finger pinky rule means that if I put my pinky on the root and play easy shape, the root's on the E string, then I get major pentatonic rather than minor pentatonic. So let's change keys. Let's do E major pentatonic. So there at the 12th fret, right, I have E, and I'm gonna put my pinky on that guy, and then I just play easy shape from there, shape 1, and I have E major pentatonic. Now, like we did with the minors, let's connect it to a chord. Now, I love doing this one because it's so, well, I call it the most useful lick I ever learned. We do have a video about that. Let's grab this E bar chord here. It's actually right below the easy shape, right? But that means that I can play the chord, I can hit the root, slide up into our easy shape. It's not that different than doing run number 1 in E major pentatonic, but we're starting from the chord. created was an E major triad. In fact, we can see that triad there, D, G, B strings, are just a part of that original chord that I played. They are right inside that E major pentatonic shape. So what a great way to end a lick using that little triad. And plus, you can get all the tabs for this video and so much more from our Patreon, 7 days for free. The link is below. But let's talk about those triads a little more, because that's definitely something that we want in a regular practice routine. My favorite triads are the ones on the D, G, B strings. I think last week here on YouTube we did minor ones, so let's practice our major ones. We've done them before, right? We just said that this is an E triad here. We know that because it's connected to this standard bar chord shape, and we memorized that it is a part of E major pentatonic easy shape. It's right there, but let's do the next one up. The next one up is this one right here. I like to call it diagonal line. We want to be able to practice visualizing and finding each one along the way. How do I find this one? I can see it because I know this E major bar chord here. And what is the pentatonic shape right there? For major pentatonic, it would be extension shape. That's perfect because, again, it fits right inside that. We see the triad. We see the pentatonic shape. So we've got two of them. We've got this guy. We've got this guy. There's got to be one more, right? It's the hardest one to find, but in this case, it's right here. The root is on the B string, which is why that makes it harder to find. But you could use another method. You could think, well, there's a landmark right here. This guy right here is an E note. And if you know your notes on the E and A strings really quick, you can always know that whenever the E is here, the triad is there. You could think of it that way. Or you could think, well, what is the major pentatonic shape right there? It's funny B string shape, shape 4, I call it, though some of you in major pentatonic have a different number for it. Oh my God, that's why I have nicknames for it. It's this one. And so finally, let's connect all three triads. We got E, E, and E. Got a little ahead of myself there. I connected the triads with each scale along the way. That's well worth practicing. Now, what number are we on? I can't remember. Let's say this is step 6. This is double stops. We have practiced the most important scales. We've connected them to chords and then triads, and now we need something even smaller, which is double stops. They're perfect. Good things come in small packages. My favorite place to play double stops is on the G and B strings. It's just really comfortable and easy to play them there, so they're great, especially in major. Let's go back to E major pentatonic easy shape. We said that the triad is there, which was connected to that chord, right? The triad's there. The double stops, my favorite double stops, start from right there. But we're just going to use the G and B strings and walk up 3 steps. That's the classic double stops lick. So that's pretty good for a practice routine, but one of the really important things to do is to try to put all the concepts together in one. So let's see if I can remember all the concepts that we did here. Chord, most useful lick, double stops. Let's do major pentatonic shape from there. What would it be? It would be shape 2. And then let's say we've got the triad here. And then let's say we're going to do some targeting. Let's pretend that underneath right now it's an E7 chord, so we're going to target the minor 7 of E7, which would be there, you can picture it, the 12th fret. And then what haven't we done? We haven't done minor pentatonic, so if it's a bluesy situation, we could actually switch to minor pentatonic for a moment. We kind of just use the minor 7, which isn't minor pentatonic, and let's go back with a major 3rd target. And the next step for you to do is to write down a practice routine that is working for you and do it as often as you can. You can get lots of these kinds of ideas from my books called Guitar Soloing Like a Pro, Book 1 and 2. Wait, these are both Book 2. You get what I mean. And you know we've got tons of lessons on our Patreon group. The link to that is below. You can get 7 days for free, or you can watch this video right here, which will also be a good idea. My name is Blue Morris, and I teach guitar lessons right here in Vancouver, Canada. I'll see you in the next one.